Exodus 19:6 says, "And you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words which you shall speak unto the children of Yashar'al." Moshe was told by Yahuah to speak this to the house of Yaakov. The Hebrew word for holy is kadosh, meaning sacred, holy, holy one, saint, set apart. And the root word is kadash or kodesh, meaning consecrate, hallow, sanctify, devote, prepare, dedicate, to be set apart or set apart as holy. And I'm just paraphrasing because it's actually a very long definition. So set apart is a term that keeps sticking out and appears in both of the definitions. And that's what we're going to talk about today. All right, let's get into it. Exodus 19:6 was the perfect script for this because it touches on something a lot of us forget exists, and that's the order of Melchizedek. This was a priesthood it existed before the Levitical priesthood that was established through Moshe and Aaron. And it actually says in Genesis 14:18-20 that Abraham paid tithes to Melchizedek. If you go to Hebrews 7:13-17, it says, "For of whom these things are spoken pertains to another tribe, of which no man gave attendance at the altar. For it is evident that our Adonai sprang out of Yehudah, of which tribe Moshe spoke nothing concerning priesthood." Because remember, the Levitical priesthood came from the tribe of Levi. I mean, in the English, it's Levi, but the tribe of Levi. So he didn't speak of Yehudah. "And it is yet far more evident, for that after the similitude of Melchizedek, there arises another priest who is made not after the regimens of the commands of the flesh, but after the power of an endless life. For he testifies, you are a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek." And you can also find that in Psalm 110:4. So this is in reference to Yahushua HaMashiach, okay? So Yashar'al is supposed to be a kingdom of priests. I'm going to pause right there. A kingdom. That's you, your mammy, your pappy, your brother, your sister, your granddaddy, your grandmammy, your children, your uncles, your auntie, everybody. Everybody's a priest, okay? Every single one of y'all is supposed to be priests. Every single one of us is supposed to be priests. Let me correct myself. And a holy or set apart nation. So we are supposed to be sacred. We are supposed to be holy. We are supposed to be set apart. About a year ago, I was led by Ruach HaKodesh. That is the set apart spirit. That's what Ruach HaKodesh means. To do a video on YouTube about the armor of Yahuah. Most sermons I've heard about this liken the armor to that of a Roman soldier, but Ruach HaKodesh showed me it's actually priestly garments. I did reference the Levitical priesthood in the video, but just go back if you'd like to watch it. I'll leave the link in the description of this episode so you can go watch it. And just keep in mind that I'm not a biblical scholar, so I apologize in advance, but hallelujah Yahuah if you get anything out of it. So what does it mean to be a set apart nation? So Genesis 12:1-3 says, "Now Yahuah had said unto all Avram, get you out of your country and from your kindred and from your father's house unto a land that I will show you, and I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing, and I will bless them that bless you and curse them that curse you, and in you shall all families in the earth be blessed." And he was speaking of Yahushua HaMashiach and his death, burial, and his sacrifice unto the world. Which some will argue that it was only Yashar'al, but I'm not going to get into that. Unto the world, okay? So first and foremost, look at what was said to Avram. It says, "Get you out of your country and from your kindred and from your father's house unto a land that I will show you." That sounds a lot like being set apart. It's a separation, okay? Now understand, we are to be set apart spiritually. So we don't necessarily have to be like, this is a physical representation of what we're supposed to be doing spiritually, because we all got jobs. some of us have jobs where we actually have to go and be around people that are of the world. So you can't just be like, well, I'm not finna go work because I'm supposed to be set apart. And then you physically set yourself apart, because if a man doesn't work, a man does not eat. And if Yahuwah has sent you into a place, it is up to you to be there and do what it is that he has sent you there to do. So spiritually set apart is what we're supposed to be. But Avram was a great example in the physical realm of how we're supposed to be set apart in the spiritual realm. Okay, so Yahuwah told Avram he would make him a great nation, and that promise was fulfilled through Avram's grandson Yaakov, who became Yashar'al. The Levitical priesthood did teach us the law of Yahuwah's kingdom. So Deuteronomy 18:9 and 14 says, when you are coming to the land which Yahuwah your Elohim gives you, you shall not learn to do after the abominations of those nations. There shall not be found among you anyone that makes his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that uses divination, or one that practices sorcery, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, that's a medium, or a wizard, or a necromancer. For all that do these things are an abomination unto Yahuwah. And because of these abominations, Yahuwah your Elohim drives them out from before you. You shall be perfect with Yahuwah your Elohim. For these nations which you shall possess hearkened unto sorcerers and unto diviners. But as for you, Yahuwah your Elohim has not suffered you to do so. So he's telling you, he's like, yo, these other nations, what they got going on, you don't do what they do. Don't do what they do. Before I move on, I just want to say that Deuteronomy in the Hebrew is devarim, and it actually means words or commandments. So when you think of the 10 commandments, it's the 10 devarim. Just want to put that out there. So the word for perfect in verse 13 is tamim, which means complete, whole, entire, sound, healthful, unimpaired, innocent, having integrity, what is complete or entirely in accord with truth and fact. So he says, you shall be perfect. So you shall be complete, whole, entire, sound, healthful, unimpaired, innocent, having integrity, what is complete or entirely in accord with truth and fact, with Yahuwah your Elohim. That's what it means to be perfect. So we, Yashar'al, are to be an example to the other nations as to how we are to submit to Yahuwah. Following Yahuwah's commandments sets us apart from the other nations who walk after the flesh. Remember, Yahuwah said his ways are higher than our ways, and his thoughts are higher than our thoughts. So if we're walking in his ways and we are adhering to his thoughts, then we will in turn be an example to the other nations, which the other nations are walking after the flesh. Yashar'al is a light to the other nations. So I'm only going to read down to verse 6, starting in verse 1, but go back for yourself and read Yashar'al 49, the entire chapter, okay? Listen, O isles, unto me. Yashar'al is Isaiah, I apologize. Listen, O isles, unto me, and hearken, you people from far. Yahuwah has called me from the womb, from the belly of my mother has he made mention of my name. This is Isaiah speaking. And he has made my mouth like a sharp sword. In the shadow of his hand has he hid me, and made me a polished shaft in his quiver. Has he hid me, and said unto me, you are my servant, O Yashar'al, in whom I will be glorified. Then I said, I have labored in vain, I have spent my strength for naught, and in vain, yet surely my judgment is with Yahuwah, and my work with my Elohim. And now says Yahuwah, that formed me from the womb to be his servant, to bring Yaakov again to him. Though Yashar'al be not gathered, yet shall I be glorious in the eyes of Yahuwah, and my Elohim shall be my strength. And he said, it is a light thing that you should be my servant to raise up the tribes of Yaakov, and to restore the preserved of Yashar'al. I will also give you for a light to the other nations, that you may be my Yahuah unto the end of the earth. Okay? You can also find that in Ma'asim or Acts 13 and 47. But like I said, just go on your own time and read Isaiah 49, the entire chapter. So you remember these words. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. That's Matthew 5:14-16. Also, and Yahushua came and spoke to them, saying, all authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. Go therefore and make disciples of the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Ruach HaKodesh, teaching them to observe all things that I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. That's Matthew 28:18-20. So he said he commanded his disciples, and understand that we're part of those disciples. Go therefore and make disciples of the nations. How are we making disciples of the nations if we're not in fact disciples of Yahushua? If we're not already set apart, we can't teach them how to be set apart. And then he says, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Ruach HaKodesh. Remember, name is character and is nature and character. So you're literally immersing them in the nature and the character of the Father, the Son, and the Ruach HaKodesh. But you can't do that if you're not immersed in the nature and the character and authority of the Father, Son, and the Ruach HaKodesh. Okay? Here's a favorite one. Romans 12:1-2. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Yahuah, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy or set apart, acceptable to Yahuah, which is your reasonable service. So pause right there. Verse 1 is saying that if you present your bodies as a living sacrifice, set apart and acceptable to Yahuah, that is your reasonable service. That's how we serve him. By sacrificing our life for him. Okay? Verse 2, and be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is a good and acceptable and perfect will of Yahuwah. So even verse 2 is telling us to be set apart by not conforming to this world. And what is the world? The world walks in the ways of the flesh. The world walks after the flesh. So don't be conformed to the world, or the patterns of this world is what some translations say. So keeping Yahuwah's spiritual law is how we remain set apart. An example of this is not taking Yahuwah's name in vain. Really means is what not taking Yahuwah's name in vain really means. My bad. So we were taught, some of us anyway, that saying GD was taking his name in vain. But first and foremost, his name is not God. His name is Yahuwah. So GD can't possibly be taking his name in vain. However, his name is his nature and character. So taking his name in vain is saying you're operating in his nature and character, and all the while you're operating in another nature and character. So basically, you lying on him. A perfect example of this is saying that Jesus died for our sins, brought us grace, and now we can do whatever we want because we got grace. That's taking his name in vain. Because first of all, you don't change his name to something that don't mean nothing. Try to translate the name Jesus. It literally doesn't translate into anything. And many people have said, oh, well, his name is Joshua in the English. So what does Jesus play into it? That word translates into nothing. So that's first and foremost taking his name in vain. Second and foremost, if you're saying that because of the sacrifice of Yahushua, that now because we're under grace, we don't have like the laws done away with. We don't have to do anything that he said in the first covenant. Well, what type of Elohim does that make him? Because there's a lot of people that died in the first covenant because they didn't submit to his commandments. And now all of a sudden Yahushua, He sacrifices his life, and now all of a sudden we can do every single thing that those people in the first covenant died doing. I'm sorry. So they did it and they died for it, but now we can do it and get away with it. It just doesn't sound right to me. Yahuah is unchanging. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever, okay? Nothing about him changes. And here's also a little side note. So there's a man who is passed away now, but he used to be living, obviously. Aleister Crowley. He was a known magician in the dark arts and the mentor of Anton LaVey, who was the founder of the Satanic Church. And Aleister Crowley had this saying, "Do what thou wilt, that is the whole of the law." To me, that sounds a lot like what they're pushing in these churches with this Jesus fellow. Do what thou wilt, that is the whole of the law. Because the law is done away with, according to Jesus. So that is definitely not the nature and character of Yahuah, which is taking his name in vain. So to sum it up, Yashar'al is the Proverbs 31 woman, doing the work of healing that we've been doing on this podcast and hopefully on your own is how Yahuah sets us apart. He cleans the gunk out of our ruachs and out of our hearts so we can walk in his ways, okay? Matthew 6:33 says, "But seek you first the kingdom of Elohim and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you," okay? So what's his righteousness? Loving your neighbor, loving your enemy, taking the plague out of your eye first, not stealing, not killing, not bearing false witness or lying, not coveting your neighbor's things, honoring your parents, having no other Elohim above Yahuah, which is idolatry, not taking his name in vain, keeping the Shabbat holy or set apart, keeping his feasts as a memorial unto him, not celebrating pagan holidays, which goes back to idolatry, being meek, being peacemakers, seeking him diligently, praying, fasting, confessing sin, communing or spending time with him, preaching the Besorah, repenting, forgiveness. So all of those things is his righteousness. Or turning the other cheek. I forgot about that one. Turning the other cheek. Toda Ruach HaKodesh. Turning the other cheek. So all of that is his righteousness. We're supposed to seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. And then all these other things will be added unto us. All right. I know this seems like a weird episode because it's like, where did this come from? Aren't we supposed to be introspecting? But listen, I don't ask questions. I just do what I'm told to do. So I was told to make this about being set apart. I do understand that all the episodes leading up to this episode were supposed to be teaching us how to be set apart because we were literally learning to introspect, to look at what's going on within us and handing it over to Yahuah, to humble ourselves and seek his face and so on and so forth. And hopefully that did that. And also addressing those things that are buried deep down within our hearts and our minds, and just allowing Ruach HaKodesh to draw those out and bring them to the surface so that we can hand them over, so that we can address them, so we can face them head on, and we can truly be cleaned from the inside out, because we are supposed to clean the inside of our cups. Our righteousness is supposed to exceed that of the Pharisees. That's what Yahushua told his Talmudim, okay? In order to do that, we have to look at ourselves and say, hey, you know what? My righteousness is but filthy rags before Yahuah. So I need to seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. And before I go, I just want to say, like, the filthy rags that they're referencing. So back in the day when a woman came onto her cycle, she would take these rags and she would stuff them up in her hoo-ha. And those are the filthy rags that are being mentioned in that particular scripture. So just imagine, like, your righteousness without Ruach HaKodesh is like menstrual wipes. It's like a tampon. That's pretty disgusting. Just gonna throw it out there. Okay. Anyway, if you'd like to get in contact with me, you can reach me at replenishme@gmail.com. Contact me for anything. You want prayer? I got you. You want a listening ear? I got you. Just contact me. I'm available. All right. As always, much shalom and ahava, and until next time, shalom aleichem.